Well, hello. Oh, no. Not again. Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm AJ O'Neill, and I'm just live coding over the holiday weekend here. I've got Mr. Mountain Dew in hand, so let's go ahead and pop top, my friends. And open focus. Ah, that sweet, sweet nectar of life. Okay, so first of all, just kind of, I retitled the stream to be live coding and hanging out because I think that that's what these sessions are. We're just live coding, we're hanging out, we're chatting. It's a good time for everybody all around. A couple of quick updates before I dig in. One, I don't remember. Two, I just got a notification that my M1 Max 16-inch is out for delivery. So I am keeping a keen eye on the driveway here. I don't think it'll come until the evening. And let's see. Sorry for the little bit of extra wait today. I wasn't paying attention to the timer. I was looking at something else and I didn't hit it, but hopefully it wasn't too long you were waiting. Let's see. All right, question here. I don't know how to pronounce this. You're going to have to help me out. Zabita? Is that how we say it? Sir, do you know how to load 3D GitF to a website? Do you mean GIF? I don't know. Is that GL? GLTF? I don't know what GLTF is. Let's search that real quick. I don't know, a form of graphics language. I'll have to look into this a little later. I've never heard of this before, so no, I don't know how to do that. But let me go on with what I was working on already. And feel free to ask me more questions, even if they're a little unrelated, because we're just coding and hanging out today. But I got this. Well, this one doesn't actually work. The page is still up here. Let me see. I think it's this one here. If I can make this the same size. Yeah. So we've got this docx to PDF converter demo. And if you have the right API token, you can upload a docx and it'll turn it into PDF. So that's what this is. And I want to make this a little bit better. So I did add, I think after the session last time, I went ahead and added an API token, but now we have this problem of it doesn't make for a good, quick, easy demo because you'd have to know the API token. I might just have the API token embedded in the public page. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do there, but I'm going to go to my issues and kind of take a look at where I was at last time. There's two places that I have the issues open for this because there's two kind of different use cases for it. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Oh, this is awesome. So Kai added a Docker file. Oh, that's neat. That's way neat. Cool, cool, cool. Nice. Interesting. I didn't even see that email when I was checking my email this morning. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze here. Woo! Got the sneezels. All right. So I want to add a duck DNS option for the DNS. I want to create a hello world version of the deploy. That I don't think I'm going to do right now. I want to make the API token optional, and then let me see what I had over here. I'm gonna work on this issue first. So first thing I'm going to work on is adding the Cloudflare support because that's what's of the highest value to me right now. So let's see. I need to look at the Cloudflare documentation is what I need to do. Because what we have in the repo, let me get over to the repo here. This I can probably move out of the way. I don't think we're going to use that right now. Okay, so in the repo, I do have some scripts partially set up for Cloudflare. There we go. But it's not these aren't even complete. It's not even syntax valid at this point. I threw some stuff in here because it's what I had. Oh no, I got the sniffles as well. Probably changing from the warm to the cold to the warm. Yeah, now this feels a little too warm. Let me turn that down just a touch. So it was really cold in here this morning, and then I turned both heaters on. I've got a oil heater and like a garage quick heater type of thing. And now it's a little toasty, and I'm going to have to take this off, actually. Okay, anyway. So we will need to, I guess, test this in isolation is what we're going to have to do. No, we don't want to do that. Hold on. Oh, I think I know what I was doing here. So I'm going to have to take a look at how I'm doing this for GoDaddy real quick. So GD API, let's see what we've got here. So in the provisioning, we should be listing the domains to see, yeah, we're listing the domains to see if we get an IPv4 and an IPv6 address for this zone and subdomain. So that's what we should do first, is we should get a listing of domains from Cloudflare. And I think one of the reasons I didn't want to do this earlier was I don't want to bring the production Cloudflare key onto this development machine. And so I'm going to let me I don't think I'm going to develop this here on this machine. I think I'm going to I'm going to open up my work computer. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Let me move this out of the way. So I'm going to open up my work computer. I'm going to SSH in to my work computer because I don't want to have production keys for work stuff on this computer. I've talked about this a little bit before, but in general, I just don't like to do that. So let me take what I've got as is. We're just going to copy it over. Well, I guess I could just git pull. No, I'm just going to copy it over. This is going to work okay. So we're going to take this and I'm going to put it over to my work computer. Okay, good. And then we'll SSH into my work computer and then we'll continue to work from there. All right. Okay. Wait, didn't I just copy this over? Shouldn't it be in here? All right, I'm confused. Let me go back here. What did I just do? I just copied this to downloads. LAAS downloads, yeah, right? Okay, I'm logging in. So in my downloads, I should have an L. Okay, very confused right now. What am I doing wrong here? Somebody look over my shoulder and see what am I doing wrong. There's the computer, there's downloads, and then let's make sure that's not the number 1. That's an L. Okay, let me search over here real quick. Okay, it is over here. That's really... Okay, let's try this again. Why was my autocomplete not working? Operation not permitted. What? I am so confused right now. Operation not permitted. What is going on? Oh, by the way, so I have a major screwups.md file that I put on my computers. So whenever I have to modify the system settings, whenever I have to manually go in and edit a plist file or something like that, I put it in the major screwups file because it is a major screw up whenever you have to do something like that manually, you know? Anyway. Hello to those of you joining in. I'm AJ O'Neill, and we're just live coding and hanging out. I've got a LibreOffice-as-a-Service service that I created, and I am getting the deployment working for it. I've got currently I'm logging into my work computer so that I can work from my work computer. You know, I've got one idea about this. I do have one idea about this. I'm going to check on something real quick because I don't want to have the production keys on my personal computer. And so I'm logging into my work computer, but I have one idea as to what might be going wrong here. It may be let's see. So the thing I think might be going wrong, and this might be new to macOS Monterey, is I've turned off use PAM in my sshd config so that it won't do password authentication, that it will only do key authentication. And I'm wondering if in turning that off, let's see, launch control, unload. I don't even know how to start sshd. Okay, good. That worked. I'm wondering if because I don't have PAM, or maybe SSH is not allowed to have access to the downloads folder. I'm just really not sure about what's going on here. So the PAM thing didn't make a difference. I'm wondering if it's something like that. I wonder if it's remote shell doesn't have access to downloads folder. So because they've implemented, you Googled that error. What did you get? Did you get anything useful? Because I probably should Google that error. But it's so generic. Operation not permitted. But I'm gonna Google this. SSH operation not permitted macOS. I think what it is macOS has this thing where applications are now, I think they call it gatekeeper. I think this is the name of the technology. So applications are sandboxed to where they can or can't access certain folders. And I think what's happening is that SSH is not allowed to access the downloads folder, which isn't that big of a deal. I can skip over that. I don't want to spend too much time on this because that's not the purpose of what I'm trying to do today. Oh gosh, this is probably one of those stupid spam sites. System integrity protection, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to disable SIP. Security privacy tab, full disk access. Okay. And then add terminal. Okay, so let me do this. I am going to just try doing that real quick. Well, I don't think it's terminal. I don't think it's going to make a difference. But I might be able to add, say, bash, for example. All right, where's privacy and security? And if this doesn't work, I'm just going to copy it to a different folder that I am able to access. Okay, security and privacy. Full disk access. And then let's turn on Yeah, it looks like SSH was here, but then was unchecked. So I'm going to try this again. So we're going to log out. We're going to log back in. What's really strange is that rsync was able to write the files to that location, but I'm not able to read that location. That's what seems especially strange to me because the rsync worked. Indeed, that's what it is. So I guess I'd unchecked this because I didn't know what it was, or maybe it was unchecked because I'd made some other change in the settings on the computer. But there's a thing called sshd keygen wrapper under security and privacy. Let's see if I can just screenshot this real quick and bring it over. I'm going to airdrop this over so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, I think the description does it good justice, but you know, it's always better if you can show exactly. So give me just a second. I'll bring the screen cap over. And, oh, all right, we need to turn on Bluetooth here. I got to turn on Wi-Fi over here. Wi-Fi, turn it on. There we go. And that should connect. It's kind of funny. AirDrop won't work without Wi-Fi, which, yeah, tomato, potato. All right, so I think that just transferred, so I'll show you the screenshot. Is it this one? Yeah. So this was it right here. That was unchecked. I may have unchecked that because occasionally I go through here and just uncheck things that I don't know what they are. And checking that, it works. So I'm going to go disable the PAM stuff again since it wasn't that. And I think PAM will allow... Okay, let's do that. And then kill all. There we go. Okay. So one last time here, we're logging in. But it's confusing because it says keygen wrapper. And I don't think of it. I think of the keygen as being something else entirely that wouldn't need full disk access, that would really only need access to the .ssh folder in the home directory. So I'm guessing that it might be the key agent, or an SSH agent. A SSH authentication agent might be what it is. And for historical reasons, it might be called keygen wrapper or something like that. You know, where the name no longer matches what it actually does. Okay, cool. So here we are. Let's go back into my projects here, and I'm going to take from my downloads folder, and we're going to have LibreOffice-as-a-Service. There we go. Okay. Now I feel better about working on this, and I can go grab... I know where to grab the production key from, so I'm going to go grab the production key real quick. And okay, so there's the production key for Cloudflare, and then I'm going to bring it over to my work computer. Let's see. How do I want to do this? I'll just put it here for now. I'm going to put oh, cool. That's good stuff. I need to make a blog about it. All right. I had some notes to self that I just discovered that I had never uploaded anywhere. All right. So now we'll actually be ready to start checking out this Cloudflare bit here. Let's go into, all right, scripts. And we're just going to test this in isolation at first. So I'm going to go into the scripts directory, go into the builder directory, and then I'm going to open up the Cloudflare API, and I'm just going to have it source a couple of places. Oops. Oh, this isn't actually legitimate yet. Okay. So what was this one actually? This is just a list. CF list zones, I think. I think this is the zones list. And what is this one? This one is list records, I think. And then this one, okay, is getting the zone ID for the zone. Well, we'll see what these are. I don't remember what all these are. All right, so I'm just going to leave all that out of here for the time being. And let's see what we can do in terms of, let's grab our list of zones. So we're going to just test this real quick and see what we get. Wait, did I set this up right? Yeah, okay. Okay. That actually should have been okay. Let's see. Because I've got this or true here, so that should mean that that doesn't or true. So list zones. List zones. Line 6. I'm a little confused there. Let's do echo hello. Try this out. No hello. Okay, so this is a little bit weird because I'm telling it to source something, but it shouldn't matter that it doesn't exist because I have an or true afterwards, so it shouldn't fail if it doesn't exist. That's okay. We're just going to go like this. Oh, wow. What the clackety clack is going on? Backup drive doing something. Oh, okay. So I think this is list accounts. I think that's what this is, as in if you have accounts and sub-accounts. It's not list zones. It's list accounts. So this would be list accounts. And so what's going to be list zones? Maybe this is list zones? Oh, this is a query. Okay, so we're querying specifically for, we only care about getting the zone that we know that we want. So this is going to be list zone, kind of, sort of. We'll see about that. I think these two are the same, except I think I'd copied this one up. Let's see. Does that look right? Yeah, that does look about right. So this is going to list the zones, and from that we need to get the zone ID. So what we're really trying to do is, in whole, we're trying to check records. So I think that I'm going to make this a, we're trying to get the IPv4 and the IPv6 address if they exist. Oh, hey everybody that's joining in. I'm AJ. Would love to know who you are, where you're from, what brings you to the channel today. We're just coding and hanging out, and I am working on some bash to get some Cloudflare domain set so that when I deploy my LibreOffice-as-a-Service, that it sets up the DNS record as it deploys. So just to catch everybody up to speed. I see we got a lot of people joining in, maybe because it's a holiday weekend. Are a lot of you in the US? Or maybe Fridays are just generally a better day, or maybe the stream's gaining more traction. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, yeah, so that's going to list the zone. So we should run this. And we need to list it with a matching zone. So I'm going to say we're going to do a local my zone equals, and then we're going to take in whatever the first argument to this function is, cf list zone. So we're going to have it be, I'm just going to put in here the production domain, and we should see some stuff. Interesting. All right. So I think result, first thing in the array. Oh, interesting. I guess several years ago this was set up on Wix. You find out something new every day. Okay, so I just want to test something out real quick. I want to see how this matching works. So we have the ability to put name in here. And I want to know what happens if we give it a partial. So what if I just give it, because I want to make this robust. I need to know how it's going to work. So I want to find out, okay, what if I give it a partial? Is this going to match? So the first letter is missing. What I want to know is it going to match? So it doesn't match if the first letter is missing. So what if the last letter is missing? Is it going to match? Doesn't match. And then just again to make sure everything's good. Yep. All right. So this is a full match only. It is not a partial match. So we can be sure then that the first thing in the array, so what we need from this is local my zone ID equals all right, and we're going to look for, I think it was result and then the 0th element if there is one, which there should be one hopefully, and then ID. And I should be able to echo this out, zone ID, and then my zone ID. And this should be good. Hey, what's up? So you sent an emoji, it looks like, but I didn't actually get it. I don't know what the social distance emoji is. Let me go try that somewhere else. I'm going to go plop this in Discord so I can see what that looks like. Let me go send it to myself in some odd channel. There we go. Notes to self. A private channel that I'm part of. I don't see anything there. I don't know what that emoji is. But yes, indeed. I think the long time no see has more to do with the fact that we're really, really far away from each other than the fact that we're socially distancing. But it is a distance, which is social. I'll grant you that. Thank you very much, Josue. All right. There we go. So we're going to check this. We should get back the ID. And indeed we do. All right, cool. So in this subshell, I don't want to handle the edge case yet. All right, so we got that one down. So we could actually call this get zone ID. And then we could just echo the zone ID back out.
Get ready.
Get ready for what?
I don't know, for when we go.
I'm not getting ready for nothing. When are we going? Give me more information.
I think like 10. I don't know.
It's already 11 right now.
Oh, then never mind. After lunch is what my mom said.
I don't know what that means.
Like 1.
Oh, okay. That's a few hours from now.
Oh.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you. Adios. That's my sister. That's my sister from another mother. It is easier to say brother from another mother and sister from another mister, but in fact, it is the sister from the same mister. But my brother's from another mother. So the instruction she gave was get ready. You probably heard. Fam's in town. So it looks like I've got 2 hours. That doesn't make sense to come in and tell me to get ready 2 hours in advance. I might have to go get some communication. Anyway, what was I doing here? So I want to say, really, I'm going to get both IP addresses somehow. We'll figure this out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little tiny bit of state in this so that when the IP address is found, when we have no IP address, it's going to call get zone ID. And when we do have an IP address, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it. But we'll see. Oh, and there's some more chat here. 2 people have an aerial high five 1 meter apart or so. I do not believe in high fiving 1 meter apart. I would high five you directly, good sir. Well, unless you really didn't want it, in which case, But I'm guessing what it makes sense is it's because we are far apart. We actually are far apart, so that's why we're doing the air five. Got it. Okay. Hello, AJ. I'm from the US. I think, so Prince-a-lot, I think I've seen you on the stream before. Here because I'm trying to connect an API with multiple params in the URL. So far, unsuccessful, taking a break. Yeah, well, feel free to send me a gist. So I'll open up the Discord real quick. And you just have to let me know in the chat if I don't respond to the Discord right away. Or I guess I could move the Discord over here. I'm going to move the Discord real quick. I'm going to move the Discord so it's more in my view. Because you can only have so many things on so many monitors, But shoot a gist in the Discord, and I'll take a look. If it's that, the kind of thing that we can. Is it Node? Is it Bash? Like, how are you trying to do this? Because we could probably help you out with that real quick. Okay, where was I at? I'm getting the zone ID, so that one's been done. So I don't need that. Oh, yeah, there it is right there. Yep, okay, so we don't need that anymore. And then we want to get the sub and the zone. Okay, so this one I think is going to take, we're going to have local my sub, and we're going to set that one to be the first parameter. Whoops. Doing weird stuff here, exclamation, I meant to do that. And then we're going to say my zone. This will be the second demand, the second one. And so then my host name, or I guess my domain, I don't know what this should be called, would be my sub dot my zone. So we'll have that. And then looks like we'll run cf API get, and then we'll just start with the v4. Okay, we're going to need to put in the zone ID. All right, got it. So this one, I think we're just going to have to take a look at it. To understand what it is. So we've got so we're going to have to get the zone ID. Local my zone ID is going to be, let's put that in quotes. The one thing with Bash that gets kind of difficult to read, well, there's a lot of things in Bash that are difficult to read. Bash is usually not the right tool for the job, but sometimes we abuse it, And so we just need to pass in zone here, I think, yeah. So I'll just copy this and say that. There we go. Okay, I don't know what it's complaining about. It's complaining about stuff being wrong here. Looks like it. Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need any of this. All that can go away. Okay, so we're going to call this function. I think what I'll do is I'll have it give back both IP addresses, and then I'll split on them. And that's how I'll make this generic so that it works for GoDaddy and Cloudflare and whatever similarly. So I am checking here in the general channel of Beyond Code Live. I don't see anything there. All right. So hello to those of you joining in. And by the way, as you're coming and going, if you do find this to be useful at all, give it a like. And if you like it, then share with someone you like. And if not, give it a thumbs down and share with someone you don't like. Let's see. Yeah, this should work. And if not, then we'll find out and it'll be okay. Unbound variable 2 on line 49. Unbound variable 2. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So because I should be giving in what I want this to be is going to be LibreOffice as a service. So there we go. That's not right. I did something wrong here. I did something wrong. I think maybe this should be my domain, not my sub. Let's go ahead and try that out. Is that UPS coming with my new Mac? Okay, that looks right. So I'm not clear what's wrong here. And I think that this was working before. So let's try just sub again. Oh, no, this is going to be empty because there are no records. Right. So let me try this with something else where there might be records. Let's try app, for example. Let's see. All right, that one's got nothing. So let's try sub. Let's try domain. Oh, good. All right, so that's working. So that's correct. And declare and assign separately to avoid masking return values. I actually don't know what that means. I have a guess as to what it means, but I don't actually know. I'm guessing it's saying do this, because this has a return value, and I guess maybe this acts kind of like a function where it has maybe it produces a status code at the end. And so maybe it's saying if you do the assignment, then if this fails, the status code will get swallowed. Maybe that's what it's saying. So we'll do it this way. I love having shell check and shell fumped because it's awesome. It's just awesome. Okay. Let me check here. Do we have any more comments? I see somebody just joined in on the Discord, so I'm assuming that's you, Sir Prince a lot. Okay. All right, so let's look at this again. And we need to be able to find out important information. So essentially, I think what I want is the ID. Oh, we do have content here. Oh, good. Okay, so we're good at this point right here. So we've got two things going on. And I think it's .result 0.content. I think is what we want for both of these. And we're going to change this one from type A to type quad A. So that's IPv6. All right, good. This is good. There's one issue that we have with this. I wonder if I can get JQ to return an empty string rather than null. It's okay that it returns null. So we're going to do local my IPv4, and we're going to do a local my IPv6, and then we're going to do a my IPv4 is equal to this, and then we're going to do the IPv6 is equal to this. And then we're going to change this up a little bit. We're going to say if null is equal to my IPv4, then my IPv4 equals nada. And then we'll do the same thing with IPv6 down here. My IPv6. And then we will echo out my IPv4 colon my, whoops, my IPv6. And then I think we ought to have a special case here that if they're both empty, then we should just echo out nothing. There. I think that's the right thing to do. Oh, what does it not like about this? This expression is constant. Did you forget on a there we go. Thank you. Again, love shell check and shell thumped. So good to have in the repertoire. All right, what are these complaining about now? Quote the right-hand side in order to prevent glob matching. Well, I have the right-hand side quoted before, but you remove the quotes. You silly dongle do. There we go. All right, so this is all good. So now when I run this, we're going to get back IPv4, IPv6. There's no IPv6. All right. So no message yet in the Discord. Somebody is still typing. If it's a big block of code, then don't put the block of code in the Discord. Put it in a gist and then link the gist, and that'll be better. Yeah. Kira might be upstairs, or maybe she's in the living room. I don't know where she is. Oh, she's in the living room? Okay, cool. So it looks like Sir Prince-a-Lot maybe jumped off the YouTube and is just in the channel now. So I'm gonna take a minute and give some instruction here. Post in a gist and then link the gist here. Also, hop back on the video feed because I'll go over it live if it's something I can help with real quick. There we go. And for those of you that don't know, I just kind of assume everybody knows what gist is. But for those of you who don't know, gist is a GitHub service. And it's, well, I'll show you. It just allows you to share snippets of code. I find it to be useful. And it's where I keep some, before I created Bliss, so bliss.js.org. So before I created Bliss, gist was what I primarily used to draft my blogs and take notes on things. Now, I draft my blogs and takes notes in Bliss, and oh my goodness, the list is getting long. I need to go back and actually finalize a bunch of these things, because there's a bunch of these that, yeah, I just need to finalize. And you can sign in with GitHub, and you can have it sync. This will sync between computers. Everything's encrypted locally on Bliss, so the server holds only encrypted data, and then you can sign in with GitHub and it'll allow you to sync between two computers. I need to make that experience a little better. That'll be a future session. I start too many projects, get them to good enough, and then start another project. It is my blessing and my curse. Okay, let's get over this. And all right, so this is at a good place now. Let me see what's going on here. Hold on just a second. Okay. All right, what was I going to do? I'm here. Oh yeah, I'm getting the IP addresses. So the first thing we need to do is check if the IP address is already set. So that's what this part is about. So we're checking if the IP address is already set. And what we're going to find if we do this is that it is not set. So I'm going to do a function. What are we going to call this one? The previous one is get zone ID and then get IPv46. So CF get IPv46. No, that's what we were calling there. So this one is going to be set IPv46 maybe? Yes, that's what we're going to call this one. And so, and then we need a remove as well. We need a function to clear. Okay, so we're going to start with this, and this is the my IPv46 is equal to, and we can do a local here, and of course that's going to complain at us if we just do it like that. So we'll do it like this, and then here we are. Whenever I do a subshell, I like to have an enter, even if it's just one line, because I think it's more clear to read that, hey, this is a subshell, and it's more clear, hey, when you add stuff to this, make it so it's easy to read from top to bottom, not left to right. By the way, creedsofcraftsmanship.com, that is a site I've got together for for lots of talks and resources on how to write good code. So I'm going to put that link in the channel there. So you'll learn tips like this, just general principles, not about a specific language, but about programming in general, about software engineering. I actually like to use the term software engineering to distinguish from programming. Programming, you know, if you're just code monkeying around, if you're copying and pasting from Stack Overflow, that can be considered programming. But software engineering is when you take thoughtful, deliberate steps in structuring your code and the inputs and the outcomes, stuff like that. So creedsofcraftsmanship.com is where I link to, we've got some videos by Rob Pike, by Douglas Crockford, by Matt Ryer, by some of the, just really the top thinkers, you know, real deliberate thinkers, David Cheney, in the industry and how they write code. And a lot of them, they're language specific because when you show a principle, it's a lot easier if you show it in a language, but the principles apply to any language. The principles in those talks and articles listed there. Also, Joel Spolsky, I've got some of his stuff listed there. So just really the top thinkers in the industry, try to find their stuff. Okay, so we're going to have this clear function. I don't know what this is going to do yet. We're just going to do return 1 because this is not implemented. Okay. And so we're going to go with CF set IPv46. And the way that this is going to need to work is probably very similar. We're going to have, well, where did this stuff go here? We did a get zone. Oh, yeah, I guess we just start with this. So we do this, and then we should have IPv4 first. So I'm just going to put in 127.0.0.1, and then we should have our IPv6, and I'm just going to put in 0, ::0. I think that's what it is. Is it ::1 or ::0? I think it's ::0. Could be wrong. Let me look that up real quick. IPv6 localhost. Maybe it is 1. That would make more sense, actually. Yeah, localhost 1. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Thought that 0 looked a little weird. Anyway, so we'll do this. And then with that, we're going to need the same thing where we need to get the zone ID. So we can copy almost all of this, actually. That's doing a get to get the zone, no. This right here. Okay, so we're going to copy this whole bit. And let's see. I don't see anything more coming in on the Discord. I don't know where Sir Prince-a-Lot went. Okay. So we don't need to get the IPv4 address in this instance. We just need to set it. And let's go figure out what that looks like. I'm afraid that it's going to look really nasty, and that it may be that we have to delete existing records and then add new records. And I don't want to deal with that if I don't have to. So let's go look at Cloudflare, IPv4, IPv6. No, that's not what. Cloudflare API set record. Anything on branchless C programming? Well, you shouldn't be doing C programming. Why would you do C programming? I don't know what you mean by branchless C programming. Do you mean where you are doing a more functional style of programming, where you're calling functions that then have that then return something? I'm not familiar with the term branchless C programming, but I would recommend that you, good sir Vincent, take a look into Rust, because C is a terribly unsafe language. And if you want all of the speed of C and all of the control of C, but you want the safety of a high-level language, then Rust would be the thing to look into. Rust is obviously, well, not obviously, but Rust is very rapidly gaining in use and job opportunities, because so many people need the performance of C, but they need safety. They need to know that they're not going to write programs that crash, that planes aren't going to fall from the sky, because this has happened due to software bugs in very few instances, amazingly. But, so Rust would be the language to use if for some reason you can't use Go or JavaScript. So I don't know about ways of so to some degree, yes, it's not talked about with speed, it's talked about with readability, but not specifically avoiding all if statements, but avoiding nested if statements, because you do need if statements. I'm trying to think. I don't know how you could do in what world would you need to I'm not clear what it means. I know that we want to avoid nested if statements. I know that we want to avoid nested loops, and I know particularly we want to avoid else. Else is evil. And the video, a few of the videos talk about avoiding else if possible. Let's see. But in order to program, you do need to make decisions. And in order to make decisions, you do need conditions. So I would love it if you would link me to some rudimentary resource about branchless programming, so that I could, if you know of a pretty decent one. But I think as a general rule, we want things to be simple. We don't want things to be too nested, but we do need branching in our code, because that's part of what makes code valuable. We have to have business logic. So we do have to have ifs and other conditions, but we definitely can do better as a whole on not using nested loops and not using nested ifs when we don't need to. I don't know that gives you as much speed as it gives you safety and clarity. It's easier to read. Delete all records using API. Yeah. See, this is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that if we want to delete records, we're going to have to either update existing records or whatever. Also, Sir Prince-a-Lot just gave me a gist here. So I'm going to open this up and see what this is. Actually, I'm going to open up in the other window first, just in case, because sometimes, people post things such as credentials, perhaps by mistake here. see. Oh, that's a little bit weird. Fetch. Query. All right. Oh, Jojo Bite. I'll have to have him pop on the stream. Okay. So we got a little bit of discussion going on here. All right, so so prints a lot. Let's see at okay, so there's a problem that you have here. First of all, you are reassigning URL. So you do not want to do this because you're actually deleting the URL. Also, you have here. I don't know what this could possibly mean. This signs. So you would need to give me an example of what that looks like, because I don't know if you're intending for this to be a JSON or what it is that you're intending for it to be. But I'm going to open this up real quick, and this is a pretty easy thing. And by the way, for those of you that are just joining in, there is a 15 to 30 second delay. So if you comment on this in live, just remember that. It should only be about 15 seconds. Usually it's 10 to 15 seconds, but sometimes it's a little longer. So there is actually a URL object. And so this is why this is a mistake right here, because you're overriding the URL object, so you won't be able to use it. So you don't want to do that. Also, I don't recommend using const unless you actually are using something as a constant intentionally. I think that's confusing. I know that this is what a lot of JavaScript programmers do, but again, it's just bad. It's not, I don't know. It's really a bad practice. You'll only find this kind of nonsense in the JavaScript community because the JavaScript community caters towards people that have the least knowledge, I guess. Okay, so let's do it this way. We're gonna break this down real quick. I'm gonna go back to what I was working on in just a second, but this is something that I really can do quite quickly. All right, so you're gonna make a new URL, and then we're gonna call this URL equals new URL, and then you'll do URL dots, and I think it is. I'll actually have to try this out here in just a second. Oh no, crap! I used let. Oh no! I'm gonna have to refresh the page. So whenever I'm debugging something, I don't like to use let because then it whines at you if you try to change it and redeclare it. So I'm just going to clear that out and hopefully that'll work. Dang it. Okay, I got to refresh the page. Yeah, I don't think that let is very JavaScript-y. I think that these changes that they're making are generally bad. Okay, so let's look at params. I think it's search params. Search params, that's what it's called. So search params dot, and then there should be a set. So you should be able to set, let's see, day, yesterday, for example, like this. And then, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that into here. All right. And then I don't know that this is what you want to do. What I would think you want to do is object.keys signs.forEach, and I'll look at the comments in just a second. But I like to get through a whole idea, even if I'm going down the wrong direction. For the sake of clarity, I like to just go down that direction. So I'll look at the comments in just a second. But you could do search params set, and then set the key from signs, and then set signs key. Assuming that signs looks like this, there's no nested objects. If there's no nested objects, then this is probably what you really want to do, is just add each of those as a query parameter one by one. Okay, so that's solution A, right? So I'm going to say, here's solution A. Okay, solution A. And then what we need to do is I need to also do URL.toString. Let's see, toString. Yep. And then I'm going to copy this in so this is clear. Here's what solution A looks like, right? So we do URL toString. And we get back this. All right, now let's move on to solution B. Solution B is that let's say you actually do have nested stuff here. And then I'll look at the comments. So let's say foo was nested and it had bar, which had baz. Okay, now in this case, what we'd actually want to do is use url.searchparams.set, and this works in Node and in the browser. I'm a big fan. I know that it's not popular to actually learn JavaScript because they just want to do, all these React frameworks and yada yada, but it's useful to actually learn JavaScript because then you know how to do things that work in any circumstance in any environment. So I recommend actually, not just copy pasting. Here's the thing about React, but learn how to do it in JavaScript itself, and hopefully modern JavaScript. It's so hard to find good resources. That's the one thing that just sucks. But anyway, so let's say that we wanted signs here. We can do that, and then I'm going to do url.toString. And then what you're going to get is the appropriately escaped JSON. Now you have to, typically if you've got, say, Express or any sort of actual library for routing on the back end, this value is going to get unescaped, but you're still going to have to call json.parse on it. So here's solution B. All right, and then I'll look at what you've actually said and see if I'm off base or not. If this is the right thing or not. Okay, and then I need to put in here, what does this yield? So this yields this string right here. So I'm going to put that in there. Okay, there we go. And let me edit this. I'm just going to take out that comment because that comment's not really important. All right. So there's two possible solutions depending on what you want. So let me take a look and okay, cool. Listening in. Let's see. And Jojo Bites making a funny comment in the Discord here with some sort of oh, I'm gonna bring this over, maybe. Let me rearrange this real quick so y'all can see this is kind of funny. So I got a bunch of Thanksgiving cleanup to do before I can set my desk back up. 25-ish people, half children, and basically everything is sticky. This is just, I thought the meme was funny in particular. Just, oh no, oh no, oh no. Whoops, I didn't mean to clap that out right then. Could be a comedy or a horror movie. Could be body parts. Who knows what it could be. Anyway, so there's our solutions. So let me know if that's on the right track for you. I think one of these should be what you're doing. I think that this one is probably what you should be doing. I think this is probably what you want. But if I misunderstood, then this is going to be what you want. You definitely need to stringify and you need it to be escaped. And you should not be doing these manipulations manually. Because it just does. If you wanted to do it manually, I'm just going to put this out there. If you wanted to, because you could, and it might actually, if it doesn't matter for this sort of thing, but you could say, oh, it's actually slightly faster. If you did json.stringify and then you gave it, let's say, foo bar, bar, baz. Is that right? Is that the right number of closing brackets? Yeah, apparently it is. So this is how you do it if you wanted to and do it very, very manually. As you'd say signs equals this, and then you'd go back to doing var URL equals, and then https, example.com / and then, put in your signs. Well, I guess, I don't know why I'm doing the plus there because I'm going to get signs like this, right? URL. So I'm just going to put this as solution C. I don't recommend this one because we do have the URL object, and in general, it's going to be better to use the URL object. So, but there are specific cases where you might want to use the URI encode URI component raw like that, I don't think in general that's what you're going to want to do. And I think that the URL object is the right approach. It's the approach that's going to be very readable. This is still readable. I still like this approach. I just don't think it's shorter, but I don't think that it's as as good, generally speaking. Oh, did I put bash there? Why did I put bash? Oh, because I've been working in bash, and that's what I'm doing over. All right, so I'm going to catch up on some comments here. My mind was blown when I first started learning code and realized that you didn't need anything to write JavaScript except the JavaScript web browser API and Node.js API. Yeah. So I really think that the web development community has gone down the toilet. I think it always was down the toilet, and Douglas Crockford really tried to write it. And I highly recommend his series, which is linked at creedsofcraftsmanship.com. If you click on the video about the JavaScript, the better parts, it's actually a playlist, and you can go to the top of the playlist. I highly recommend that series. I think it is the best series on JavaScript development. But it's made so complicated, and people say, "Oh, look, this is so easy," and then they do 6 million steps and they download half of the internet. And no, you know what's really easy? One day I need to do a to-do app in Vanilla.js. And just show you how you can do a to-do app on the client side that's really clean, really easy to read, really easy to write, and doesn't require any build tools. Now, once you extend beyond to-do and you get into bigger and bigger apps, some of my techniques scale well, some of them don't scale well. I would like to find techniques that scale well for any size of app in vanilla JavaScript. You can't avoid having some form of frameworky thing because we just don't have the tools in the standard library to do DOM templating intuitively well. So there needs to be something there, but I think that there's a lightweight solution for that could be in the range of maybe even less than a kilobyte of code. Okay, so let me get to the next comment. Solution will also work for day. The 3 params are yesterday, day, and tomorrow. Yeah, so hopefully you could. I think you probably already saw that. From this example here. You can do it any of 3 ways. I think that this is the way that you want. It sounds like. So yes, I was bewildered why I need to be forced to learn 3 different JS frameworks. So I do think it's good to learn frameworks. I actually started out learning frameworks. And everybody who starts out learning frameworks says, "Oh, I wish I had just learned the base language first." But I think that this is somewhat deceptive in that the framework gives you some guidance to be able to understand a scope of things. So the train is going in this direction. Because before, when you're just staring at the blank page and you don't have any framework at all, you don't even know which direction the train is headed in. You don't know how many cars are on the track. But when you get a framework, at the very least, it does give you a clear direction for things. And then you can go back and you can look at it and say, "Oh, I don't need all this framework. This is so big and bulky." And I agree. But I'm not going to discount the value of learning a framework because it gives you Rails. In fact, Ruby on Rails, it makes a lot of sense why it's called that, because it literally it's Rails. You don't have a lot of choice. You don't have a lot of configuration. You don't have a lot of options. It's just the train goes in this direction, and that's what the train does. And if you don't like the train going in that direction, and you don't like the switch mechanism provided by Rails, then Rails isn't for you. But I think that it's valuable to learn a framework, and I think Rails is a fine framework to learn too. Okay, so I found Python works on all operating systems. It does all libraries for pretty much anything. Oh no, don't do it. Go, Golang. The 3 languages that you need to learn if you want to learn 3 different languages. JavaScript, real JavaScript, but that's hard. Go, easy to learn. Don't learn Python. There's no reason to learn Python. If you want to do machine learning, you should be doing it in Rust, because that's where it's going to be fast and efficient, right? And if you want to be doing the kind of things that you would do in Python, that Python's good at, system tasks, do it in Go, because Go it's higher paid, it's better designed. Python it shows its age is the only thing. Python's a good language, but Python is dirt old and it's never been updated properly, and it can't be updated properly because the language just doesn't support asynchronous programming well, and it's not going to, and that's not going to change. So Go is the systems language to learn. Rust is the language to learn if you need to be doing either machine learning or you need to be doing things that are on bare metal or embedded. And then JavaScript is a good all-around language. It's just hard to find good resources for it. I think I put together some pretty awesome resources on creedsofcraftsmanship.com. I'd be open to having more resources. I'm going to vet anything. So far, I haven't got a lot of comments on that. I don't think I've gotten any comments on that. But I'd love to accept community contributions and add those to the list. And you can comment there because it's just a link to a Git issue, really, right now. I want to make it into its own page eventually. But I'm going to vet everything personally. And I'm going to delete the things that I disagree with and promote the things that I do agree with. But yeah, if you've got good resources, please let me know. All right, now I just want to write everything in shell. Okay, do not use C processor in plain C. Don't do it. Don't do it. That is such a bad idea because your code will break. And you will write code that is insecure, that leads to viruses, rootkits, etc. Do not write in C. There's no reason for someone to write in C in the modern day unless you have legacy applications that you, for some weird, strange reason, you cannot use the C code in Rust. But you should be able to use all C code in Rust. I can quickly set up a reliable web app using OpenBS KSH for the server. That's crazy. SQLite for the database, C for everything else. Okay, so I half agree with you, but shells are not good programming languages. PowerShell comes close. I'm actually kind of impressed by PowerShell. But shells are not good programming languages. I'm not recommending that people, because this is a deployment pipeline that I want to be able to run without having to install Node, which in this particular instance, I'm using Node, but I want this to work whether I'm doing Go or whether I'm doing Node or whatever it is. And eventually I do plan to write something in Go. In fact, I'm going to try to get Jojo Byte to help me out with that. We're going to chat after the weekend, the holiday weekend here. But yeah, I got a comment over here in the Discord. Thanks for the awesome explanation. I'm going to try this in my app. You're very welcome, Sir Prince-a-Lot. I'm glad to help. But eventually, I want to write this stuff in Go. But for what I'm doing right now, it makes sense to prototype it out in Bash for me for right now. But Bash is rather cumbersome. This is really nasty. If for me looking at this, I'm thinking, but it's what I've got, right? And it works. But I definitely I wrote a blog in Bash, and that's actually, there's a whole series. I think I've got the playlist of the whole thing. If you look at the Beyond Code Bootcamp playlist, or go to the Beyond Code Bootcamp channel, for some reason the search shows the playlist higher ranking than the channel, which I think is kind of weird for YouTube to do, but whatever. But if you look at the playlist on Beyond Code Bootcamp and you look at I think it's the Beyond Code Bootcamp Live 2021 playlist or something like that, I actually build a blog in Bash, but it really stretches Bash to its limits. And I wasn't as good at Bash then as I am now. Now that I've discovered shell check and shell thumped, which by the way, webinstall.dev, I'm going to give this to y'all. If you want to be, you should never, ever, ever, ever write a shell script without these installed. So I get that Bash is not Born or KSH. I get that, but in general, these shells are not good tools for that sort of thing. So there's shell check, and then there's schwumpt, which I don't know how else to say it, so I'm just saying it. Schwumpt. It means shell format. But those, you should have both of those installed. And I will be adding this to Vim Essentials. For some reason I didn't have it in Vim Essentials already, but I think I've got a PR up for it right now. So that'll get added to Vim Essentials. So if you're a Vim coder, which if you're a Bash coder, you should be a Vim coder. But here's a link to Vim Essentials as well. And then we'll get back to the task at hand, which I think we're hopefully be able to finish up in relatively quick order here. Vim Essentials. Boom, there you go. And all this stuff is in the doobly-doo as well. If you just scroll down into that and then click that, most of the stuff is down there. As well as, I do have some affiliate links for DigitalOcean and for name.com, which is what I recommend everybody use for their domain names and their DNS and their virtual private servers. The DigitalOcean one is you get $100 and 60 days free. So whichever one comes first. So if you spend $100, which is kind of hard to do on DigitalOcean starting out, or if you go 60 days, but you get that free. And then if you do actually continue to use DigitalOcean, which I hope you do if you have a need for VPSs, because it is the best solution out there. I think Volter's another good one. AWS is absolute garbage. I have stock in DigitalOcean. I think I have one full stock. I use the Robinhood app, but I want to get more. I want to get a good, I don't know, $1,000 or so in stock in DigitalOcean, because they are doing the smart things and they are playing it right, and they're making it easy for people to do simple things and not making it hard for people to do simple things. But anyway, yeah, I use DigitalOcean for everything that I can. I love them. I think they're usually the right tool for the job. Okay, so let me get out of here. So we're going to get the zone ID, and then I got to look at the documentation to do the set. So delete all records. Yeah. Oh, so we're going to have to list the records and then do a delete call. This is not going to work well. Well, it could. Let's see. Let's check this out. So I have to delete a DNS record. I think I'm going to make some assumptions. I think I'm going to make an assumption that if the DNS record exists, we're going to change it. If it doesn't exist, we're going to create it, and we're not going to do too much more than that. So we will list. We will list. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to grab the IPv4 like this. We'll call this one my new. We'll do that for now. We can rename it later if we want, and I'll call the other one my old. All right. Okay. So anyway, I would love to hear your defense of C if you think that C is actually a programming language that I understand most people are not. Most people get introduced to old languages because they're old, but the old languages are typically not good because they're maintained by committees. This is the problem with JavaScript. This is why the JavaScript community is flushing down the toilet, is because there's too many committees and not enough people that are leaders, that are true leaders. Douglas Crockford was a real leader. I'd say that Ken C. Dodds is a leader. I don't necessarily agree with all of, I just don't agree with React, and he's more of a leader in React, not really a leader in JavaScript. But there's just not a lot of, leaders that I would say are at the level of software engineer in the JavaScript community. It tends to be more people that wear colored socks and, are cool, not people who are metered and measured. That's my beef there. Anyway, I forgot the thought that I was having, the whole of the thought, but anyway, yeah. Okay, Python is best. No, Go. Go is best. Java is second best. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Java is riddled with all sorts of inheritance hierarchy issues. Java and C# are actually the same. Microsoft literally, I had a college professor who was on the team that was renaming all the instances of Java throughout the code base to C# and renaming all of the Sun Microsystems specific comments and code because Microsoft made a shady deal with Sun Microsystems back then. There was basically a loophole in the agreement that Microsoft had access to the source code for the term of the agreement, and they were, I don't know exactly how it worked, but essentially copyright didn't apply to them. So they just renamed everything, called it C#, and this is literally what happened. And then they improved C#, and they improved C# faster than Java, than Sun Microsystems improved Java. But they're inheritance-based hierarchical languages that are not good representations of proper object-oriented programming, as was Alan Key, I always forget his name, but as he was trying to intend what object-oriented programming could be. So I'm gonna battle that. So Kinsey Dodds. So he's part of my local community. I've known him for years, and so I'm fond of him because he does have good content out there. I can't deny that. I don't agree with all of his stuff. I don't agree with some of his personal beliefs in terms of politics. Like he and I are not going to necessarily be hanging out on the weekends together, because there's a lot of things that we just disagree on. I don't know. But as far as a person who is doing good things in the community and comes out, I've got on creaseofcraftsmanship.com, I've got some of his blog posts and stuff, because he does have measured approaches to things, and they're good. And so whether or not I like React, and whether or not I even enjoy hanging out with him, his ideas for certain things are really good. And I'm not going to put a limit on what those certain things are, but I can identify specific ones. And so, I think that because I've seen the way that he handles some things, I think it's fair to say, if you learn from him, you'll do well. You'll do better than most other sources. I think that Rob Pike and Dave Cheney are even, a step up above that, but they also are not in the JavaScript community. And so if you need somebody in the JavaScript community, specifically React, because I don't know that Kinsey Dodds is really in the JavaScript community as much as he's in the React community, which are kind of two separate programming languages. Well, literally two separate programming languages. But anyway, let me see. What's up?
We're going to go to the museum at 1:15, so
At-
before then.
At 1:15. Got it. Thank you. All right. So I've got until 1:15. So I'm catching up on comments here. I mostly use Ed. Okay. Ed, dude, Vincent, what in the world, man? I don't know anything about Ed. You got to teach me about Ed. Maybe. I don't know. Should I use Ed? I thought that Ed was a line editor. I was not familiar that Ed had a community around it. I know that Emacs has a community around it, and Vim has a community around it. But I'd recommend people learn Vim because Vim is everywhere. Maybe Ed is everywhere too, but I think I used it once. I've used VI, not Vim, but just old school VI. I've used that before, in the same way that I do know some of the distinctions between Bourne Shell and Bash. Many people don't realize that it has advantages over sed, even being despite how many features have been added to them. Well, tell me about it. If you got a blog post or something, I'll read it. I'm not sure that you'll convince me that somebody should use Ed rather than Vim. But maybe you will. I mean, it's possible. But I don't know of any tooling around it. I don't know of any community around it. And I think that those are important. Sometimes even if you have, there's a sliding scale here. And sometimes if you have something that's great, but you can't communicate it to anyone, then if you have the perfect solution, but you can't communicate it to other people, then it's not as good as a great solution. And I think that Vim is a great solution. And I don't really know much about Ed, but if Ed were a perfect solution, if it can't gather community and tooling around it, then yeah. Okay. So I'm reading the comments out of order here. Sorry. What's your best recommendations to learn data structures? I am trying to move past basic programming to data structures. Any recommendation to learn data structures? So I don't know what you mean by data structures, because it's a really broad term. It's like saying algorithms. How do you learn algorithms? Algorithms is just a step of things. You tell somebody, go grab a knife. insert the knife into the top of the peanut butter jar. Wait, first OG, take off the lid, unscrew the lid of the peanut butter jar, and place the lid on the counter. Put the knife into the peanut butter jar. Have you seen the peanut butter instructions challenge? Peanut butter jelly instructions challenge. This is an algorithm. Algorithm is just a set of steps. And likewise, data structure is just literally you have data and you nest it in some way. That's a data structure. I don't think that this was the one that was the original, but this is the one that has somehow become popular. I think that the original was better. But oh no, I think this is the original. Okay, I think this one's the original. I'm not sure, but I'm going to link this exact instructions challenge. Well, I think part of the problem in the front-end community is people don't learn how to use a computer. And I think it is important to learn how to use a computer when learning to program. I don't think that, well, let's skip how to use the computer because that's complicated. I don't think that that is step one to learning how to program. But a lot of people do. A lot of people think, well, you shouldn't have to learn how to use a computer. You shouldn't learn how to use files and folders. Just do everything in VS Code and ship it to a cloud and don't ever learn any of the basics of a computer. I think that that's ridiculous. But that's the way that it's often done. And it's good enough for a lot of people, you know? And it gets people jobs and it makes them money and it satisfies their needs for their family. So you can't argue against that. But from someone who sees programming, you know, someone who's from the software engineering perspective, that is not software engineering, right? But it can be development. And so if you need to do that, then, you know, you do that. Let's see, what else? Linked list. But see, tell me this. Why is a linked list useful? I can think of 2 or 3 cases. Okay, it's useful in interviews. Some of them. But why is a linked list useful? When have you ever needed a linked list? Now, granted, if you use Go, if you use JavaScript, if you use Python, linked lists are everywhere. But you don't use them, right? There have been a couple of instances I've encountered where you need to use linked lists, but this is my approach generally, is don't learn things for the sake of learning them. Learn them because they solve a problem. So give me a problem that linked lists solve, and I will help you understand linked lists better because we can talk about it in context of the problem. I am not good at explaining things without a context. And I'm not good at understanding things without a context. So when you give me a mathematical formula and there's no, like I loved physics and I hated calculus. I loved physics because everything tied to something that I could imagine in my mind and understand, right? I didn't like calculus because the way that they taught calculus was literally, I was told in my first calculus class, I don't have time to teach you this, so just memorize the formulas. And to me, that, you know, it's just, there was one example from calculus I could remember that made a lot of sense, which is that if you have power lines and you want to know how much drag is on the line, you could use a certain formula to determine how low the power line would arc over what distance, so you'd know the distance to put the poles. And you can solve a lot of physics problems a lot faster and simpler with calculus than with algebra. So there's that. But anyway, for the data structures, what I think I would recommend, I don't know. There's Design Patterns in C is a series, and I'm going to have to get back on track in a little bit because I do want to get this thing with Cloudflare done before I go today. I'm totally cool with hanging out. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. But I do, for my own personal goals, I do want to get that done. No, this is not what I want. Design Patterns in C. There is a Stack Overflow post that I commented on years ago. And it doesn't really necessarily teach you data structures, but it teaches you, I mean, it's, Design Patterns in C. Can I get this? Why is this not coming up? I might try Googling this, because sometimes, occasionally, there we go. Are there any design patterns in C? And then this was my answer is, here we go. I think the design patterns in general is maybe better than just data structures, but I don't know if that really answers the problem. So And these design patterns apply to all languages. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, and hey to everybody joining in. As y'all are coming and going, just a reminder, if this is useful for you, if you enjoy it, either because it's educational or because it's entertaining or whatever the reason might be, I appreciate a thumbs up and share with someone that you like. If you like it, share with someone you like. If you don't like it, thumbs down and share with someone that you don't like. Okay, so circular buffer mutexes, red-black trees. Yeah, okay. Look for libraries in your programming language that implements them. Yeah, okay. I agree with Vincent here. Yes, I 100% agree with Vincent. And you'll find a lot of examples in this in Java because Java is used as a language for education. And Java is a language in which you need to implement these things yourself. You'll also find some of this in Rust because Rust is a language in which you need to implement these yourself. So thank you very much, Vincent, for giving a more direct and perhaps useful answer than what I gave. Abstract data types are kind of data structure and building blocks of more complex data structures. Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad Vincent was here to give a better answer than what I gave. But again, I still do say, I think it is good to learn these. If you're in a computer science class, I think it's good to learn these. I think they're good to understand logic and reasoning. But, the question is, could I give you a good problem? If I could give you a good problem to which trees are a solution, which I think I could come up with one if I thought about it for a minute, because there's lots of cases where you have unsorted data and you want to sort them. You want to sort them into trees and be able to traverse the tree. There are lots of cases for that. Not ones that you typically encounter as a front-end developer or in just building out APIs, but there are interesting problems, especially if you're dealing with locations or stuff like that. But what I need to know in order to recommend data structures is I need to know the problems that you want to solve. If you want to tell me, hey, I want to be this type of engineer, I want to work on these types of problems, that will help me hone in to say, here's something that you should learn about. Maybe if I've got a resource on hand that I, think of. But yeah. So thank you, Vincent. Much appreciated. Let's see. Oh, and there actually is, hold on, there's a problem that I'm going to recommend for you that I think is a good data structures problem. It's a tricky one. I have it in a repository on my personal GitHub called FizzBuzz, and it is called Hotplate. Oh, well, look at this. Oh, that's the solution. Okay. This is from my college days. Let's see. Oh, where's my FizzBuzz repo? I'm going to have to find that. Because I had a FizzBuzz repo that had some problems in it that are good enough. FizzBuzz. Where the heck did my FizzBuzz repo go? Did I move it over here? Oh, I moved it apparently. I guess I should move it back. I don't know. Let me go do this real quick. We're going to take this URL. I am going to mirror. I'm going to do a reverse mirror here. I'm going to add it back to GitHub and then make this a mirror. Okay, so github.com/CoolAge86. I moved off of GitHub at one point years ago, and then I'm slowly moving back onto it. I don't necessarily like GitHub. I like the interface. I don't like their politics. I want a migration. Import a repository. There we go. Import a repository. There we are. FizzBuzz. But what I'm doing instead is I'm putting stuff on GitHub, but I'm having all the links go to the canonical repository. That way the SEO slowly builds back up, because as you can see here, the SEO, I mean, it's been years and the SEO is still pointing to the place where it isn't. So little ditties, the usual suspects. All right, let's go there real quick. Here we are. And then I'm going to add this as the canonical URL. And is Hotplate on here? I'm going to be so upset if Hotplate isn't here. Okay, Hotplate. Do I not have the instructions for hot plate? Okay, so I've done something wrong. Let me try this again. Let's go Cool-Age 86 hot plate. Because I had this listed as a set of instructions to follow as a challenge. Yeah, here we go. Oh gosh. People have been commenting on this? I've not seen this, or maybe I did and I didn't remember. Cool. Oh wow. All right, so here we go. Here's hot plate for you. I should bring that back in. But this is a good one that will challenge your. It's very simple data structures. But I think hot plate is one, and chess will help you learn data structures. There's a few different ones that I think are quite useful in this regard. Okay. Oh no. Just a comment there in the Discord, which I thought was a little funny, kind of, but sad. Okay, let me see here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add file. So I'm going to say create new file. We're going to do hot plate readme.md. There we go. And then I'm just going to add this into here. Oh, need to update the markdown on that. Whatever. Okay, and then I'm going to say that this is from. Oh no! Whoops! What did I do? No, redo. Just one redo. There we go. Originally from. Boop, boop, boop. And this is docs add hot plate problem. All right, and then I'm going to do a little bit of reversey on this real quick, and then I'll go back to what I was doing because I only have so much time to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this, yeah, and then I'm going to run the import. So let's go to settings. We're going to do delete this repository. Actually, you know what? I probably can just mirror from here. I probably don't have to delete mirror settings. There we go. Add push mirror. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah, then I'm going to have to add authorization. Yeah, for now I'm just going to delete it, and then I'm going to add it as a mirror. Fizzbuzz. I run Git, y'all. That's how I host my code. So new migration, GitHub, clone URL, access token, repository will be a mirror. Don't need to make it private, and then I'm just going to add back the same description. Little ditties, the usual suspects. Oops, I should have made sure there was no comments or things on that before I did it, but whatever. Yeah, there we are. Okay, done with that. And then back to this. Let me check up on comments here. Okay, let me see if I can go back. Okay, recreational mathematics drives me nuts for the same reason. It's hard to truly feel like you grok anything unless there's use for it. Yes. Yes. But when you don't know the maths to solve your problem, you have to explore and understand maths for their own sake. Let's see. I don't know if I quite understand what you mean by that, but I think I agree. Okay, yeah. In order to evaluate their strengths and weaknesses and trade-offs to determine whether it is suited to solve the problem. Okay, yeah. Nearly a catch-22. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. You have to be able to explore math and just reason about it. But I think starting with a problem, starting with a quandary of the universe, and then moving towards how does math help us solve that. That's how calculus was invented. Not how it was taught to me, but that's how it was invented, was to solve physics problems, which makes total sense. Okay, I'm not trained in math. My major is bachelor's CS, but learning maths, recreational maths explicitly had to have known use case is always best done when I seek to understand the concepts, not to get something done. Right, yeah. But for the purpose of knowing these concepts first and foremost, yeah. I get that, but the application always the most difficulty. Yes, yeah, it's tough. Okay, so now here we are. I'm going to go back to getting this Cloudflare stuff done. For those of you joining in, we've kind of had a side tangent here for half an hour on just general programming chit-chat. And now I'm getting back to the Cloudflare stuff. And as you're coming and going, if you do find this useful or entertaining or whatever it may be, I appreciate, thumbs up and share with someone you like. Otherwise, thumbs down and, share with someone you don't like. And also, I would love to know where you're coming from, who you are, what brings you to the channel today. Feel free to ask questions. Like I said in the title, we're hanging out and coding. I've got kind of an objective that I'm driving towards, but we're taking tangents, and that's okay. That's what we do here on this channel. Okay, so where was I at? I'm getting the current IPv4, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check. We're gonna do a create or update is what we're going to do for both of these. And I think I'm going to abstract this out into an upsert function. But let me just get it done in place first. All right, and I need to make sure, okay, good. We cannot be fooling around. So this is production stuff. So I'm putting it on a junk subdomain, but this is production stuff. So I definitely want to be really careful about the rights here, because I would not want to accidentally write over our main domain, because I'd, have to pay for that. And what the freak do you think you're doing on a holiday weekend messing around with production stuff? It would not be a pleasant conversation. Oh, sorry. Went down the wrong pipe. Okay. Oh, and then I have to get something to eat soon, apparently, too. All right, so we're going to do my current IP address. So if there is no IP address, and we're going to create a record, and if there is an IP address, then we're going to update the record. So create and update. And actually, I prefer the other way of doing this because I think this feels more natural to say, if it's not empty, I don't know why N stands for not empty, but that's what N stands for. Or at least that's the way that I understand it. It probably is documented probably as something else. Wow, I can't believe the room's actually gotten too warm. I have to turn off the heater. That's insane. That never happens. Well, not in the winter. That has not been happening in the winter so far. Okay. So we're going to do an update. So let's get over to the Cloudflare API and check out how to do an update. I think it's going to be right here. I think this is what we're looking at. Okay, patch DNS record is if we give it an identifier. Okay, so I think what I need to do then is current IPv4 ID is what this needs to be. Because we're not going to get the content, we're going to get the ID. And so if we can get the ID, and then same thing here, I need to do ID. And this needs to be ID. All right, there we are. And then we'll have to do ID here. And then we'll have to do ID here. There we go. So we're getting all this done. All right. Okay, so now that's going to get the ID. And I suppose that we should echo the ID would be a nice thing to do. Are we doing any destructive actions yet? No, we're not. Good. Thank goodness. Oh, and yes, this does need to be double quotes. All right, so we're going to update. There we go. We're going to update this is what we want to do. So CF set, am I calling that? All right, good. So we're not going to do any sets yet. I think I am going to abstract this out right now, actually. Function CF get record. Get record ID. No, I'm not going to abstract it out yet. We're just going to keep going with what I've got for right now, because I don't want to change this right now. That's a premature refactorization. Update IPv6. So, and then we're going to have here create IPv6, and I don't think I actually want any of this. Let's get rid of that. We're gonna output intent, and we're gonna test it again real quick. Okay, so we should see update null. Yes, I forgot about this. Yeah, we need to have that bit to. Okay, this is getting. I am going to abstract this out because there's enough here that I'm having to repeat that this is annoying. So we're gonna do get record ID is what we're gonna call it. And then we're going to take this whole bit here. We're going to move it in. Well, no, this is not get record ID. This is set record. And we're going to do a couple of things in here. So we're going to have sub and zone and content and type is what we're going to do. So sub, zone, we're going to do type, and then we're going to do content. That's how we're going to do it. Okay. And so what we're checking for here, so this is my current ID now. And we're going to change type of A to be my type. All right, that looks good to me. So we're going to get the ID. And then we're just going to have my current ID here. And then we're going to have local, my current ID. And I'll check the comments in just a second. Let me finish out my thoughts on what I'm doing here. Okay, so then we're going to call CF set record. And I'm just going to pull in all this stuff here. So let's go ahead and go with it. All right, so we're going to get the zone. Oh, and we do need the zone. Zone ID. So we need zone ID here as well. Right? Yeah, we do need zone ID. I guess we just need zone ID. We don't actually need zone. So I'm going to move that to be the first one. And then we're going to change that right here to where, whoops, record, whoop, there we go. So we're going to say, I'm going to have to pass all these. And I'll check the comments actually in just a second as soon as I finish this bit. Okay. My dad is such a chain smoker. He's going out every 5 minutes. Well, maybe not every 5, maybe every half hour. Because we've been out here for a while. Or we've been coding here for a while, I think. All right, so type is going to be A. So we're going to have a record, and then the content is going to be my new IPv4. And I actually should check this. So if it's not empty, because I could maybe want to only set an IPv6, for example, if I'm on Vultr, and I also might not want to set an IPv6. So I'm going to do this way. Okay, so we have the zone ID, the host record, the record type, and the address that the content. So that's all good. And then we're going to do the same thing here with IPv6. All right, my new IPv6, and then we'll do a quad A record. There we are. And then we can get rid of all this. There we go. And then, yeah, we get rid of this. Well, actually, we're just going to move those here. Well, one of them. We're going to have my current content. And I'll call this my new content. I feel good about that. Just to make sure it's super clear. And we're not using that yet, so that's fine. So my current ID, my current content, my new content. That's all good. And then we're going to change this to be type rather than just sticking with IPv4. So we're going to call this my type. And then we're going to give it the content as well. And this is, we're calling this my new content, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing up here. So now what we should see is we should be able to print this out. Let's go ahead and run this. All right, so update null. Oh, and I got to put the null checks in. So let's go put the null checks in here. If null to my existing content. Whoops. Hold on. Where's that null check need to go? I guess it needs to go right here. Well, wait. Yeah, so my current ID can be null. My current ID, then my current ID is nothing. Great. Okay, so let's try this again. Excellent. We get the right result. Okay, now let me check comments. Okay, let's see. I understand the logic, but when application and it screw up with tiny mistakes. Yes, we all screw up with tiny mistakes. And this is why I think that tooling is so important. And so this is a great argument for VS Code. If you are too bogged down in whatever to learn Vim, I think Vim Essentials is a great way to go, right? Obviously, because I created it for people who are beginners. And I created it for myself. I share it with lots of people. People that are more experienced can get good benefit from the Vim Essentials because you can't learn everything, right? And that's one thing that VS Code does is it makes tooling discoverable because it'll tell you, hey, it looks like you're writing a JavaScript file. Do you want to install some tooling? And then you click yes, and then you've got it. And Vim isn't quite to that level, and I don't know if it'll ever get quite to that level because I think it's a different audience. But yeah, tooling will help you avoid tiny mistakes. That's why I recommend things like shell check and shell thumped and JS hint and prettier. If you're using JavaScript and you're not using JS hint and prettier, you are doing it wrong, and I have no qualms about saying that. Now, you could be using ESLint. I think if you're doing JavaScript, you're doing it wrong to use ESLint because ESLint is not a JavaScript tool. It's more for React and things that need transpiling. It's really cumbersome to try to get working with just plain JavaScript because it doesn't support JavaScript out of the box. It supports abstract, arbitrary languages that may or may not exist, which I find to be rather annoying. JSLint is a good tool. JSHint is a good tool. There's probably a few other ones out there. Prettier is the only tool that you should use for formatting as far as I can reckon. And they take the software engineering approach to Prettier rather than the Code Monkey approach. They're very much about, okay, why should lines be formatted in this way or that way? And they have reasons for them. And they're listed on the website, and they're clear, intentional reasons that are about software engineering principles. How do we make this easier to read and more clear, less likely to produce mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. So Prettier is the tool to use. And those things are what help me prevent tiny mistakes. So this was fun. Thank you. Yes, I'm assuming you're talking to both Vincent and I. If you're just talking to Vincent, I don't want to take credit for it. I assume you're talking to both of us. But we are glad to have you, David. And I've seen you on the channel a few times now. So I'm starting to get to know people as you join on more frequently. So Vincent says combinatorics and other engineering maths have pretty straightforward formulas and use cases that will allow you to solve problems, but not necessarily improve your grokking why it works that way. Yeah. Thus it is said. Okay. So now I do want to patch the record if it exists, but we don't have any records to patch yet. So let's focus on the create first, and then we'll focus on the, so this is update. Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. Update DNS record. But what's patch then? I'm confused. What's the difference between patch and update? Patch DNS record. Do we have any documentation here on what the nuanced difference is between a patch and an update? Okay, I'm going to have to finish up here quick. Hey, if somebody could take a little time and go figure out, I'm going to drop this in the chat. If I can I link to this? I don't know how to link specifically to this section that I'm on here. And it's just api.cloudflare.com. Oh, okay, as I scroll. Give me a link that I can copy and paste. whatever. But if somebody could take the time to figure out what they mean by a difference of put versus patch for an individual record, because I see here identifier. I'm not really clear on what the difference between these two would be, because it is already just modifying one thing. Oh, I bet I know what it could be. And I think we do want to use patch. I bet update will delete anything that you don't specify. So if you don't specify, for example, a TTL, it will delete it and use the default. That's what my guess is. So we probably want to be using patch, not update. But let's see if we can get to create. There's a get. Let's see. They put this in logical order. First it's create, then it's get. All right, we're going to post to zones, zone identifier, DNS record. We're going to give it a type. We're going to give it a name. We're going to give it some content. We're going to give it a TTL. So this is all good stuff. And I'm guessing that we don't have to give it all of these things. All right, so CF. Maybe it shouldn't be set record. I don't know. Function CF create record. And really, software engineering, it should be record create. That is the software engineering approach to this. Because I'm doing this in Bash, you know, maybe we don't need to do it that way. But these things you start to notice as you go. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to do multiple things on a record. Record should come first here. Don't think about code in English. Think about code in code. Thinking about code in English is not really going to help you because then you're thinking about it in English. You know what I'm saying? All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that because we're not at that granular level yet. Okay. So we're gonna do CF API. Okay, the problem with this is that I only get one. If this works, I only get one shot at it, which is probably okay. Because again, we're testing in production. All right, zones, DNS records. Okay, so it looks like we're going to do a post. We'll create, and that is just fine. So we're going to set the type. Okay, so we're going to have all this information. Are we going to set the zone as well? Oh, the zone is there. Okay, good. The type is there. Whoops. Where's my domain? My domain. That seems to be wrong. So we don't we don't need the zone for this? Let me look at this here. So we could just do we could do my domain for this. Is what we should do. My domain. Okay. Not my zone. And then my domain. So we go back up here and this should just be my domain. Right. That makes sense. Got it. 100%. I'm on board. Okay. So that should be my domain. My type, my domain, CF record set. So we're going to do this update, and we need to have zone ID, domain type, and new content. So all of these things need to be passed in. Oops. And then at the end, we're going to call JQ just so that we get it prettier. Okay. Ed is the line editor implemented in Go. Huh. So there was actually a tool back in the 90s and maybe 80s that was called Ed that was before Vim. Rust editor. Red is a line oriented. Huh. So what are you talking about, Vincent? When you're talking about Ed, are you talking about a modern tool that was recently built? Because I would totally misunderstood because I thought you were talking about the predecessor to Vim, which basically you could only edit one line at a time. That was like sed, which you mentioned sed earlier. Or yeah. In which case I just was very confused by that. But if you're talking about something differently entirely that is appropriating the name sed, then I get that. I really don't like appropriation in that way sometimes. I guess sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Just stealing people's names is just, seems a little petty sometimes. All right, what we're going to do here is, I guess we're just going to echo this first. All right, so we're going to run create. So what we're going to run instead is we're going to do cf record create. And then we're going to have, I guess, all those things. We're going to have my new content, my zone ID, my domain. Whoops. Oops, here we go. There we go. And then maybe I'm going to regex these. Local space is going to become this. Okay. Boom. And then we just delete this and delete this. There we go. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. The mentioned syntax error was in this simple command. What's the syntax error? Is there not a closing quote somewhere? Oh, like that, maybe? Was that where I messed up? Okay, so let's try this record create, and this is not going to do anything. Invalid numeric literal at line 1, column 7. That sounds terrible. Line 1, column 7. There is no line 1, column 7 here. I must, what did I do? I tripped something up, but I don't know what I tripped up. Oh, also we need the ID to go in if it's an update. We still need my zone ID to go in here. I guess we just need my new content. I guess we don't need my type for this one. All right. This is going to be frustrating because something is wrong, but I don't know what's wrong. And I don't know that I have a method to tell. Oh, I bet it's this right here. So it's echoing, including the pipe. So let's just comment that out for now. Yeah, let's just make sure this looks right. Okay, so what do we got? We're going to create an A record. We've got the zone ID, got the type, got the name. We probably don't need all this per page stuff. Let me get rid of that. That's probably not necessary when we're not doing a get. Okay, that looks better. And then let's look at the documentation real quick and see what we might want to add. So required parameters. These are required. These are non-optional parameters. Okay. So type, name, I think we got that content. I think we got type, name, content. TTL, I don't think that we got, and I'm going to set it to 600 because it often doesn't matter anyway. All right. Proxied is false by default good. I want to set that on. So we're going to set proxied equals false because I want to be uber clear in this that we are not proxying. Okay, so and TTL equals 600 and proxied equals false. Okay, so let's take a look at that. And then let's go ahead and try it out. All right. Oh, so So David's got a question about GameCube stuff. All right, cool. With GameCube SD to SP2, what is the max micro SD card that will work? That's how I found your channel. Anything. There is nothing on the market presently that will not work with the SD to SP2. So you can get a micro SD card of any size. I always recommend Silicon Power. So I'll bring up this. They always have the most reliable. They are the best brand of micro SD. Just put it, they are better than SanDisk. They are better than Samsung. This is the best brand available for micro SD. And you can get up to a terabyte. I think they're at $150 right now, less than $150. I'd recommend getting the one that's the A2 version. So I'm not going to recommend that you get this, this 1 terabyte micro SD. I'm gonna link you to this, but I just recommend that you look at Silicon Power for your SD if you are looking at buying an SD. V30, you won't need all this for the GameCube, but V30, U3, A2, that's basically the fastest you can get right now. I think there might be a way you can get faster than that, but you'd pay a lot more money. Micro SD. Silicon Power. Okay. You're talking about Unix, Ed. However, I thought that the programming languages you urged me to have adopted line editor and implementation. Okay. The different formats are confusing. So I'm assuming, David, you're talking about the GameCube stuff. So the micro SDs have 3 formats. So there's SD. There's only 3 formats. There's SD, which is up to 4 gigabytes, meaning essentially less than 4 gigabytes, because there are 4 gigabyte cards that are SDHC. So you have to think about what it's less than. Then there's SDHC, which is less than, oh gosh, I forget. I think it's less than, I don't know. What? I actually don't remember. And then SDXC is less than 2 terabytes. So it could be up to 2 terabytes, or it could be less than 2 terabytes. It just depends on how they define terabytes. So if it's gigabytes, then I think it's less than 2 tebibytes, but it can be 2 terabytes. I don't know. It's something like that. This is basically, but here's what's going to happen is because it's all software defined on the GameCube, as soon as the SDXC cards, or the next one, not the SDXC, but the next one that's coming out, as soon as those start to become popular, they're going to update the software to be able to work with those cards. So I think that you don't have to worry about that. The one thing, if you're talking about using the loader file, then I would stick, or the loader disk, I forget what the name of it is. But if you're talking about using the Daytel action replay, then you need to stick with a 2 terabyte card. But that's not the SD, that won't read the SD to SP2. So SD to SP2, if you're already at the point where you can read the SD to SP2, then it doesn't matter what size card you use. Use anything you want. You just make sure that it's FAT32 formatted, not exFAT formatted, which the default for large cards will be exFAT. But you can't use exFAT yet because too few of the different things support it. The different homebrews support it. So I wouldn't recommend using that yet. Okay, so let me get back to this. We got a few more minutes here. All right, this looks good. This looks like it's doing the right thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up and I'm going to go ahead and say, let's pull the trigger on it. Let me just double check here. Record name looks right. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's pull the trigger here. And I feel confident this is not going to be a fireable offense. Okay, there we go. Okay, requested URL turned 400. All right, so this is good in a sense. So we're getting an error. Type is type, name is name. Let me just double check here. These are required parameters. Type, name, content. Didn't specify content. That would be the problemo here. That's it. Whoops. All right, let's try again. I don't know why that would be wrong. Anybody see a typo here? We've got the zone ID, which let me just go ahead and echo this out. CF record create. The zone ID, then the domain, then the type, then the content. Zone ID, domain, type, content. All right, what do we got here? Zone ID, domain, type, content. We got zone ID, and we've got, I guess I could reorder these. That might make more sense. Name and type and content and the TTL and proxied. So what I'd like to see in this would be, I would really like to see what the response is. So let me get rid of this for the second. First, let's just echo this out. Okay, this looks good, right? So we got the zone ID, we got the name, we've got the type, and we've got the content. And that's all good. Do we need to do something here? Well, that wouldn't make a difference. TTL, proxied is false. Optional proxied, false. Values are true and false. All right. All right, between 60 and there, content is a string, type is a string. I don't think we need to actually do the quoting there. All right, I don't know. I'm kind of curious here. What's the issue? So let's just see. All right, I'm going to get rid of the S here. Got a half hour, right?
No, we'll leave in 15 minutes.
Oh, I thought you said at one. You were going to leave at 1:15.
At the 1:15.
Oh, yeah, that was not clearly communicated for me.
Well, anyway.
All right. So I'm going to have to do this on the other screen. Yeah, give me 5 minutes and then I'll be at a good place to stop. Okay, so I'm going to have to do this on the other screen real quick because I need to actually print out the full message here, and it's going to have the API key in it. So I'm just dragging this onto the other screen real quick so that I can debug this better. All right, what is going on here? That's weird. I see a 200. Let's see. Do I see 400? Left intact. Returned an error 400. Supports multi-use. Okay, so unfortunately, because I've got to go, I don't know if that I'm going to fix this right now. What am I doing? Am I doing anything wrong? DNS records, and then these are. Oh, duh! I know what I'm doing wrong. Hold on here. I think we can fix this in 2 seconds. Okay, so I need to save this. Duh! It needs to be a JSON post. I was doing it in query parameters because that's where it was being done before, but this obviously, well, not obviously, but it makes perfect sense that what this ought to be, because we're doing a post here, is, let's see, record create. So okay, so we're going to do it like this. Name is doot, doot, doot. type doot. Okay. Doot. Content. And that can be left as is, and this can be left as is. And then we close it out, and then we close it out. Oh, and then that doesn't need to be -d. That can just be whatever it be. Well, let's see here. I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to open it up here and then just have all of this like this. Let's see, can we do it? There we go. I think this looks right. I think this is going to yield the proper result this time. Let me just double check that I don't have the -v on here. Good. Do we have any echoes? I guess we don't need that echo. All right, just making sure I wasn't putting any debug information out. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's what we wanted. Okay, cool. So this is going to be a good place to stop, and then we'll pick up here maybe tonight. I don't know. I probably won't be on for a while because God, family, and town. But I need to code. You know, I need to for my well-being, for my mental and emotional health, because I'm a workaholic, and I just need to. Oh, I'm splashing all over myself like a bum. I'm not homeless, I promise. Get the all over me. Okay. Well, thanks again. Vincent, you're new to the channel. It was nice to have you. I really appreciated your comments, even though I contradict you a little bit on some of those things. I'm glad that you seem to have felt that was all in good, healthy discussion. I hope that everybody feels that way, because I have strong opinions and I will voice them, and that's, I guess, part of the reason people come to the channel. But I've got to go. So thanks everybody for joining in. It was a good time for me. I hope it was a good time for you. And, like if you liked it, because if you like what you like, you get more of what you like, and share with a friend you like. And if you didn't like it, thumbs down and share with someone that you don't like. All right. With that all said, oh, I can't do the click and then do the adios and then have the click. That's too many clicks, right? Okay. But I'm going to do it we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out over time. So, did you link to more on Vincent, hold on. I'm going to give you the Beyond Code link, because you can't, once we get moderators, then I will allow links in the YouTube again, but I've disabled them right now because of the spam bots that come, because they seem to be pretty horrendous. And then I had to do a lot of moderation of just deleting links to dirty material. So anyway, yeah, pop that link in the Discord for me. I'd appreciate it. Anybody else, join in, pop that in the Discord. But yeah, like I was saying, I've got to go. So, yeah. And subscribe. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for that. That's really appreciated. Y'all have a good one. Adios.